Hello, everybody. My name is Nicholas, and I would like to share with you some information regarding the astrology of pandemics, including COVID-19, to have another insight, a different insight on the current situation. Small parenthesis, I don't deny the existence of the virus as a cause of the pandemic, but I just the astrology can help us see the energies that we're going through. And also by studying previous pandemics through an astrological approach, we can be better prepared for the future in case of another pandemic by building resilience. So by coping, by better coping to the stressor and better live through the stressors of a pandemic. So in light of this, I would like to share with you some information based on the research shown in the film The Astrology of Pandemics that I recently made. And this film can be seen, you can watch it on Amazon Prime, as well as Tubi for free on Tubi, and also on Vimeo on demand. And you can find all the links to watch the film in the description of the video. And don't hesitate to leave a honest review or a rating on these platforms or on IMDb or Rotten Tomatoes. So it can help me further the work in the future to make more films like this. And if you have any feedback, if you have any comments, please drop them below this video, and I would be more than happy to reply to you. So here I'm going to share the first slide. And voila. Oh, here we are. So here is the timeline of the major pandemics in history. So the biggest ones, the ones with the biggest impact and ever recorded in human history. So starting from 541 AD with Plague of Justinian to the AIDS in 1981. Which was the one prior to COVID-19. Unfortunately, AIDS is still ongoing, so many are still suffering because of that. So it's the year that it started was 1981, even if it's still ongoing. So here we see, if we start from the first example, the Plague of Justinian, we see here the chart. And yes, a good thing to precise is that the research here is based on the eclipses happening in the times of a pandemic. So if we compare the eclipses of these times of pandemics, we will see that there are correlations. There are similar planetary configurations at the time of the eclipse, that being lunar or solar eclipse. But the mostly is lunar eclipse. So we will see here in so December on. It's a bit difficult to read here. Apologize for that. On December 29th of 540 AD, so just a few days before the turning of the year, there was an eclipse, a lunar eclipse. So here we see an alignment of three celestial bodies. The moon here, red, the lunar eclipse, the Earth in the center, and the sun on the other side. So it creates this axis. And we see, first of all, that Pluto here, P, the glyph here, is aligned to this axis. So this, I didn't put the time here, But all these charts that I will show you are actually the maximum point of the eclipse, is the exact time of the maximum point of the eclipse, not the start of the eclipse, not the end of the eclipse, but right the culmination, the maximum point of the eclipse. And lunar eclipses don't last very long, so it's a very precise timing. So at this time, Pluto was behind the Sun, so it was aligned on the axis of here of the lunar eclipse, while the two gas giants of our solar system, Jupiter here and and Saturn here, were opposing each other, so they were interacting, while more or less creating a 90-degree angle to the axis of the eclipse here. You can see. And this is the recurrence of a planetary configuration. During an eclipse, Pluto either aligns to the axis of the eclipse, either forms a 90-degree angle to the axis of the eclipse. And this is very rare because Pluto takes 248 years to go to make a full round of the zodiac. And eclipses happen roughly 4 times a year. So it's a very, very rare happening, let's say. Well, having this in addition to the interaction of the two gas giants, it's even more rare. So here we see the second example of the Black Death, 1345 and 3052. Some people say, some historians believe that it started in 3047, but it actually started more not in Central Europe, but more Eastern countries in 1345. And here we see the eclipse happening on March 18, 1345. We see the axis formed by the moon with the Earth and the Sun. And at this same time, the two gas giants Jupiter and Saturn were conjoining, forming a great conjunction. And this actually is very unique per se. But then, if we add here, we will see this is the same chart but with a different background. We see that Pluto is behind the Sun, so Pluto is aligning with the axis of the eclipse at this time. So we see, just keep in mind that these two charts are the same, but one shows Jupiter and Saturn, and the other one shows P, which is Pluto here. Okay, and so actually this Pluto at the time couldn't be seen because of the lack of the telescope. So actually, the King of France at the time asked the University of Paris to give a reason why the pandemic occurred. And the Faculty of Medicine of the University of Paris issued a compendium of opinion on the Black Death. So the Faculty of Medicine, we're talking about them, that they wrote that the first cause, the universal cause, as they stated, was the eclipse of 1345 of March 18th here, with the great conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn. We see that these two gas giants were interacting, but they couldn't see Pluto. So it's astonishing to see that there is the correlation as, for example, the previous one, which was the plague of Justinian. We see the third example, the New World smallpox in 1520. Actually, New World stands for the Americas, because it was the smallpox brought by the Europeans, for example, Cortes, the conquistadors, into the Americas, that destroyed, they depopulated the Native Americans, unfortunately. So here we see the same kind of interactions. We see the axis formed by the eclipse, with the moon at 11 degrees Libra and the sun at 11 degrees Aries. So it's a perfect alignment with the Earth in the middle. And we see Pluto here at 11 degrees, the same degree as the other two, 11 degrees of Capricorn. So Pluto was forming on March 22nd, 1521, was forming a 90-degree angle to the axis of the eclipse. So it was forming a T-square. And this is very, very rare. And I forgot to mention Pluto can be viewed as the virus or the bacterium. And the film explains all the meanings of planets, including Pluto. So if you want to know more about why we are considering Pluto and not other planets, you will find out in the film. So here we see also that Jupiter here is in proximity, and also Saturn, as seen here. So the both are interacting. And actually, 2 years prior to this eclipse, in 1518, in January, there was the conjunction between Pluto and Saturn. And actually, this conjunction in this sign, in the sign of Capricorn, the next time that this happened was 502 years later. So more than half a century, more than a half a millennium later, in January 2020, we had the same conjunction of Saturn and Pluto in the sign of Capricorn. So, and the next one is the Spanish flu in 1918. And we see that on December 28th, 1917 already, there was the eclipse and Pluto aligning to the eclipse, while the two gas giants were in proximity. But the second wave started after the eclipse of June 24th in 1918, when Jupiter, which is the planet of expansion, conjoined Pluto during the eclipse of June 24th. So it expanded, let's say, the Pluto, which is can represent the virus. So it amplified the energies of Pluto. And also in 1981, we see here AIDS. We see that on July 17th, 1981, there was this eclipse. And at the same time of the eclipse, there was this concentration of planets. So the great conjunction between Jupiter and Saturn here at 4 and 3 degrees of Libra. And at 21 degrees, we have Pluto. So a concentration of planets here. So these three planets interacted during the eclipse. And this is very important because it's these three planets that interact during an eclipse that triggers a pandemic on our planet. What about COVID-19 then, we may ask, in 2020? Well, we had a similar celestial fate, let's say. On January 10th in 2020, at 10 past 7 p.m., we had an eclipse, again, a lunar eclipse with the Earth in the middle here. And aligned to this axis of the eclipse, we had we had Saturn and Pluto, while Jupiter was in conjunction to these two planets. So we had a concentration of planets in Capricorn. Just to let you know that this eclipse is actually all the examples we have shown here, all the eclipses, the axis of the eclipse happens on the four cardinal signs of the zodiac. In the zodiac, we have different type of signs, and there are four cardinal signs, which are Aries here, Libra, Capricorn, and Cancer. So all these examples that are shown here, the eclipses happen in these four signs. So cardinal signs are the initiators of the zodiac. It's when the seasons start. It's the two equinoxes and the two solstices. So they bring change. They are the ones initiating change. For example, the seasonal change. So we can draw the conclusion that these eclipses they create change through the occurrence of pandemics. And so the interaction between these three planets, actually, Pluto, Saturn, and Jupiter, during an eclipse, specifically during a lunar eclipse, and the direction of Pluto to the eclipse, to the axis of the eclipse, while Saturn and Jupiter are interacting with the eclipse by forming a 90-degree angle, or by coming together, the two planets, by forming a great conjunction. In these configurations, in the past, we have seen that when these configurations happen, we have pandemics of more than 10 millions of fatalities, of deaths. And when we take away Saturn and Jupiter from this configuration, we have in the past we have pandemics with a minor result of fatalities of less or equal to 1 million deaths. So there is a big difference between big major pandemics resulting in more than 10 millions of deaths, and the minor pandemics that result in less than 1 million. And while the big ones have Saturn and Jupiter as well in the equation during the eclipse, here with the minor pandemics, only Pluto is interacting with the eclipse. So the film goes in depth into analysis of also minor pandemics. So I'll leave you watching the film if you are interested. So here the film also states that because of we all want to know where and when this ends. Well, astrology can be a valuable tool for predicting events in time. This is not it cannot be taken as literal, but it can symbolize a date for which there's going to be a slow progress in the situation that we're all living right now. And this is due to Jupiter was during the pandemic here in Capricorn and then Aquarius, which are both signs ruled by the planet Saturn. So Saturn represents restriction, limitation, it's confinement. So Jupiter represents expansion. So since Jupiter was in the signs that are ruled by Saturn, Saturn was imposing its energies on the aspects of Jupiter, which are social gathering, travel, and so on. So once Jupiter enters its own sign, which is Pisces, we can expect less limitations and more gatherings, more social activities. So this Jupiter moves slowly. So it will enter Pisces from May to July 2021, and then it will go retrograde motion back in Aquarius, and then it will come back to Pisces from January 2022. So these are time windows from May to July 2021, and then from January 2022, finally, that we can expect some changes and some progress of the situation. So here it is, a quick presentation. Hopefully it wasn't too technical from my side. And also, the film features an interview with André Barbeau, a French astrologer who unfortunately died in 2019. And he predicted the 2020-21 pandemic in an article he wrote in 2011. And he actually he used uh, technique called an index called the planetary cyclic index, and the film shows the planetary cyclic index through time, and we see that this index is the lowest in 2020 for the 21st century. So it can represent a crisis, let's say, for society. So he was the one predicting the 2020 pandemic, and if we actually understand the meanings that astrology give to these specific three planets, Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto, we can understand also the subtle energies that are being manifested right now. So the film explains all of this. So hopefully you get a chance to watch it. And as for the next time that this particular planetary configuration will happen, will be in 2036. So we can expect something similar happening to a pandemic in 2036. Although the signs of where the eclipse is happening is a fixed sign. So not anymore a cardinal sign, which was the case for the previous pandemics, but a fixed sign. So we will have to wait and see what that will symbolize. As for the planetary configuration, will be the same as the previous pandemics. So we can cast a prediction for 2036, saying that there is potential for a pandemic. This is not to make you sad, but there is hope, actually, because with the negative side of Pluto, we can focus more, we can put more attention to the positive side of Pluto, which is regeneration. So there is this transformative quality. When these pandemics happen, there is a rebirth. So we are in the process of being born again as a society, and so we will see how the new structure will be of a society. Hopefully, a better one to the previous one, because we can never go back to the previous normal, because many things weren't working. So hopefully, it will be something for a better structure. And we have learned a lot through this pandemic. And I recommend watching the film. So you get to see also the meaning behind the planets, and also what we can hope for the future as this new structure will be built. So hopefully, we can live together on this planet without having, you know, hate, feelings of, for example, racism or intolerance. These are just things that detach one from the other. So hopefully we can learn from this experience of this time of pandemic in order to create a better future. So that was it. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. So let me know, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.